you see a noticeable difference in the preparations going on out your way?
Considerably so, Bruce. Right now there's a lot of units in the area just sizing up the terrain and getting ready for the exercise.
Specifically, what kind of training, as we get closer to the employment phase, specifically
well, before the exercise begins, the units are taking advantage of their spare time by doing a little extra training. And believe me, Bruce, they're taking their training very seriously. Let there be no mistake about it, the 25th Infantry Division Light has came to the Republic to train. To get the most out of an exercise, units visiting Korea have got to be fully prepared. The difference in terrain is but one of the challenges faced by 2 field artillery battalions of the Light Division. AFKN's Mark Cummings has this report on yesterday's live fire exercise at Santa Barbara Range.
Whenever a unit deploys to the field for training, they have to focus their time preparing for a major change in routine. The division-size artillery brigade not only has the responsibility for moving men and equipment to the field, but also to develop the proficiency of their gunners in new terrain. The 25th Infantry Division Light, Devarty, is establishing this proficiency at Santa Barbara Range, firing the full complement of division heavy howitzers. Although the soldiers feel fortunate to be able to get in some live fire practice, they also eagerly await what's ahead.
Looking forward to coming to Team Spirit since I got to Hawaii in '84, but I think it's going to be a real good experience and learn a lot and do our best over here.
The more experience Devarty soldiers receive live firing in different terrain, the greater the likelihood of battlefield success. This is what training is all about, and members of the 25th Infantry Division are confident in accomplishing this mission. Army Sergeant Mark Cummings, AFKN News, Santa Barbara Range.
The American Express Bank at Camp Long in the 125th Finance Support Unit from Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, have some welcome news for 25th Infantry Division Light soldiers. The American Express Bank is now offering limited services from 8 a.m. through noon and 3 until 5 Monday through Fridays, and from 8 until noon on Saturdays. Their services will be for cashing personal and traveler's checks, as well as currency exchange, as well as the 125th Finance Support Unit, who will be offering the same services from 11 until 2 on Wednesdays and Fridays for the Light Division soldiers. They will also handle all of their pay inquiries, and additionally, the 125th will now have the same services at Romeo 605, Camp Humphreys, and Camp Hovey. Soldiers visiting Korea for only a short while have a chance to see and experience many new and different things. One opportunity to enjoy some of Korea's culture firsthand is being offered at around the Republic. Tonight, AFKN's Joe Connelly has this report on CAFA's traveling music and variety show passing through the exercise area.
The Korean-American Friendship Association is working to help improve intercultural relationships. Throughout the year, they sponsor programs to promote understanding. CAFA, the Army's Community Family and Soldier Support Command, Korea, and the Korea Ministry of National Defense are co-sponsoring a series of shows for Team Spirit participants. The music variety show is traveling around the Republic. The first show was in Checheon last night and was well received by soldiers from Hawaii.
The cultural way they dance and the music that they played is just very pretty, very beautiful.
Have a good old time, get to know people of the Republic of Korea.
I think they can take back the outstanding friendship as shown by the Korean people here tonight.
Musicians and dancers are continuing their tour across the Republic. Tonight they're putting on the show at the Pohang Outdoor Theater. Tomorrow they're at the Kunsan Air Base Theater. On Thursday night, the group will be at Camp Humphreys Theater. The H-On Hangar Building will be host to Friday's show, and the final performance is Saturday at Camp Page's Gymnasium. The show is a good way to experience a little bit of Korea's culture. Airman Joe Connelly, AFKN News, Checheon.
Transportation is an essential element in today's Army. It takes quick thinking, ingenuity, and lots of resourcefulness to keep today's Armies combat ready and moving on. It took a while, but AFKN's Jerry Welch caught up with the elusive super vehicle of the 2nd Engineer Battalion and the amazingly versatile Batmobile.
No, Batman and Robin haven't joined the Army, but the Batmobile has. 2nd Division 2nd Engineer Battalion has a 2.5-ton shop equipment van that has so many accessories that the troops who work with it call it the Batmobile. Housed in its own camouflage bat cave, this machine shop on wheels has its own welding facilities, metal lathe, and a generator capable of powering 2 entire campsites. Headquarters company Cape Crusader specialist Cleotis Humphrey says that his job is all in a day's work.
We have a little contact truck. They go out, do most of the work. Anything they can't handle, they bring it back to me and I fix it. This truck is a shop equipment organizational light repair, which we can do just about anything with it. Anything from boring out pistons, fixing engines, even pulling engines. My truck and me, we can do it.
When the signal shines in the sky, the call is answered by Specialist Humphrey, and when the Batmobile arrives, all will be fine. Army Private Jerry Welch, AFKN News, near Moonmog.
And tonight at 10, Bruce, AFKN's Carl Fabrizio will join Daniela via microwave. Among other things, they'll be taking a look at a Camp Long weightlifter.
Okay, now, Bob, before you get away, I have to mention that today was no ordinary day for Specialist Robert Osman. Mr. and Mrs. Osman's son signed on with Uncle Sam for another 4 years.
That's right, Bruce.
4 more years, Bob.
4 more.
We'll have to keep meeting like this. So like you say, tonight, Daniela and Sergeant Carl Fabrizio at 10, and then you and I again tomorrow night at 6. Thanks a lot, Bob, you and the rest of the crew out there.
Thanks, Bruce.
Okay, appreciate it. And in other news, the Navy has joined the Army and the Air Force.
We're at Camp Long in Wonju, where one of the latest additions to the staff there, Sergeant Carl Fabrizio, is standing by live via microwave. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you, Daniela. It's nice to be here.
So is it busy enough for you out there?
Yes, it sure is. As usual, our Team Spirit News teams are out in the field covering all the training. For those of us in the military, the experience of hurry and wait in airports is a familiar one. The seemingly endless wait for your luggage is an undesirable but expected occurrence. Tonight, however, AFKN's Mike Hartman reports on a group of individuals at Olson Air Base who have virtually eliminated the problem.
When the aircraft hits the ground, the journey isn't over. Troops must now be deployed to their specific areas for the exercise. Assisting them here at Olson is the Arrival Departure Airlift Control Group, or ADAG. The ADAG OIC, Army Captain Lee Lawrence.
We're acting arrival and departure coordination unit between the other supporting elements that assist getting the Team Spirit people from stateside into their base camps. We assist with the unloading of the people, the reorganization on the ground, and putting them on bus transportation or military transportation and relocating them at the base camp that they're going to operate out of.
This ADAC unit is a joint effort shared by personnel of the 19th Support Command from nearby Camp Humphreys and the 31st Support Group, Alabama National Guard.
And we are capstone to the 19th Support Unit here in Korea. The ADAG responsibility is being handled by the 23rd Support Group, which is under the 19th Support Group area. We're here to assist the 23rd in accomplishing that mission.
The group ushers the troops directly to their transportation. Getting them to their base camp quickly is, of course, part of the exercise. Not long after personnel of Oson's 611th Mass downloads bag and baggage, the rollout begins to the final destination, leaving the ADAG to await another mission. ADAG, members of the 19th Support Command, Camp Humphreys, and the 31st Support Group, Alabama National Guard, working together at Olson Air Base, getting troops to and from the field. Air Force Sergeant Mike Hartman, AFKN News, Olson.
Many participants in this year's exercise have a good chance to experience some Korean culture. The Korean-American Friendship Association, the Army Community, the Family and Soldier Support Command Korea, and the Republic's Ministry of National Defense are co-sponsoring a traveling music variety show. The first of 6 shows was presented tonight in Checheon. All this week, the 40-member troupe will be visiting other areas as well, and tomorrow night they'll be at the Pohang Outdoor Theater. On the 26th, you can see them at Camp Humphreys Consolidated Club, and their tour will end at the Camp Page Gym on Saturday. As numerous military vehicles make their way inland before being utilized in the field, they are greeted at railheads across the Republic. One such site is here in Wonju. AFKN's Rob Tankersley has this report on a group of soldiers who wait for these empty steel monsters to roll in.
Team spirit preparation, getting vehicles ready is an ever-important step. So far, a lot of the emphasis has been placed on movement of vehicles from ship to shore, but maintenance is needed for every vehicle that has an operator, and the first step happens at the Wonju railhead. Members of the 595th Maintenance Company from K-16 Air Base in Seoul greet the trucks and other machines at Wonju. Their job is a part of the ongoing chain of events. Sergeant Angelo Morton of the 595th tells more about their duties.
The purpose for safe operation, right, we just, start the vehicles up, right, make sure they're properly running, make sure they're properly air pressure, and make sure everything is working okay on the vehicles. Then we check the tires for air pressure, and then we check the truck all over and see if it have any problems with it. If it does, we'll fix it on spot corrections. And if we have any electrical problems, we'll troubleshoot it and find what the problem is, and we'll fix that problem.
The trucks and other vehicles depart the railhead for the staging area at Camp Long. Another part of the picture that will be Team Spirit 87. Army Sergeant Rob Tankersley, AFKN News, Wonju.
Daniela, tomorrow night, Bob Osman is going to show us the 25th Infantry Division's recent live fire exercise.
Okay, well, that sounds good. We'll look for that tomorrow night at 6 o'clock with Bruce and Rob.
All right.
Okay, thanks a lot and welcome again.
Thank you.
In other news, bidding has opened for a replacement for the Army's sergeant in Wonju. Sergeant Mark Cummings is standing by live via microwave with our reports. Well, Mark, I'm sure today is a day that a lot of troops were looking forward to, the final day of the exercise.
That's right, Daniela. The maneuvering of troops here have pretty much stopped. However, the soldiers who are participating in this year's exercise are now more or less catching their breath and spending a little time experiencing Korean culture.
So they're relaxing a little bit now then instead of just shipping right out?
Well, Daniela, there are still a number of troops in the area. As a matter of fact, many of them gathered at Camp Long early this evening, and that is our top story tonight. Members of the 25th Infantry Division took time out this evening to host a dinner for some local Korean dignitaries. Soldiers from the 25th Infantry Division Light, representatives from the 92nd Regimental Combat Team, and various local Korean citizens from the Wonju area gathered at Camp Long's Community Club. Commander of the Tropic Lightning Division, Major General James Kreisel, presented plaques of appreciation to demonstrate the friendship between the two countries. With this year's exercise coming to a close, Team Spirit participants are already gearing up for the journey home. Besides taking back their personal belongings, the troops will also have with them some vivid memories from this year's Team Spirit. Earlier today, AFKN's Jerry Welch spoke with troops still in the area about what they'll remember most about this year's exercise. And tonight he files this report.
The ground exercise phase is over, and with it ends a very intense time of training. The soldiers are wrapping up nearly 2 weeks of field life, repacking their gear, and preparing to head for home. During this training lull, the soldiers have a chance to look back and personally evaluate the lessons they've learned.
It's been a pretty good exercise. Helps you get a better sense of just what your job is when you're in a large exercise like this.
The soldiers say one of the most valuable lessons is in working together as a team with their Korean counterparts.
The ROK/American soldiers relationship is great. We got a chance while we was chilling out a little bit to learn Taekwondo with the ROK soldiers, which I thought was very nice.
You can't beat it. I mean, we're working with a different country, in a different country, and that's what we're supposed to do, so it's the best training you can get.
Since most of the Orange Forces are visitors to the Republic for the exercise, they not only had a chance to learn military tactics, but they also had a chance to experience life in another country.
I really like the people. Everybody's friendly, they're all, everywhere you go, you get a hi. Haven't had anything bad to say about it.
It's a lot like back home, really, in a way, but, there's different cultures. You see the people and stuff, and you realize how different it is,
Good training, coupled with the chance to see a new culture, helps make Team Spirit a memorable experience for all its participants. Army Private Jerry Welch, AFKN News, near Yeoju.
For many units in today's Army, getting in some training can often depend on the weather. Here in Korea, there's several detachments of the 30th Weather Squadron who aid units by studying and predicting the weather. AFKN's Judy Bradford has this story on one detachment and how their job is vital to troops in the field.
home and you want to know what the forecast is, you tune into your local radio station. But if you're an Army unit in the field, you can't do that. And even if you could, you need more than a forecast that says partly cloudy and a 50% chance of rain. That's where these people come in. This is the temporary home of the 30th Weather Squadron, and while it's not the sophisticated meteorological center they are used to, it certainly does the trick. 3 times a day, the unit takes in satellite information over their high-frequency facsimile machine. To help them as well, other meteorologists who work with the unit are stationed at distant air wings, and they phone in data too.
We have 3 teams in the field right now, and we support each other. At this location, at the D Main, we put out a forecast that we send to the other units and we let them use. They're doing most of the briefing. They're there with the aviators telling them what the weather's going to be when they fly, and we try to tell them what the weather's going to be. And we talk to each other, and with all those minds out in the same place, we get a good forecast, and that's why we've done so well on this exercise.
For Division Weather Officer Captain Robert Fogarty, forecasting is an art as well as a science. It requires a lot of detailed data like the kind recorded hourly by trained weather observer Senior Airman Lance Divians.
Get my sky condition. We're overcast at about 12,000 feet without those stratus, mid-layer clouds. Expecting rain probably the next couple hours.
Such detailed weather analysis and data is critical to units in the field, both on the ground and in the air. Fogarty says this year's exercise has been a challenge, but one his unit has worked hard to meet, and that standard is high indeed. Last year, Fogarty says the Tactical Forecasting Unit pulled down the Grimes Award for their hard efforts. In the field near Wonju, Sergeant Judy Bradford, AFKN News.
During this year's exercise, members of the Korean Service Corps have demonstrated a positive attitude and a desire to work with both ROK and U.S. soldiers in getting their missions completed. Tonight, AFKN's Ed Mora has the story on the Corps that's more commonly known as the A-Frame Army.
In an exercise as large as this, it is nice to know that you are not alone. This is the feeling that the American soldiers get when they see the A-Frame Army. Mr. Kim Kyu-sok from the headquarters of the KSC, Korean Service Corps, more popularly known as the A-Frame Army.
The KSCs were established to support U.S. Army in Korea. During wartime, we transport ammunition, sick and wounded, construction of field fortifications, operation of supply point, building and maintaining roads and bridges, and similar other essential combat sport type operations.
The A-Frame Army built a 90-foot-long bridge near Icheon so that the heavy Army equipment could cross and advance to their defensive positions. The bridge was built from scratch. The Army used it. The A-Frame Army then disassembled it and went on to other essential missions in support of the exercise. Mr. Kim thinks that the A-Frame Army works well with the exercise participants.
Most of our people feel very proud to serve KSCs because their KSC service is, in other hand, is greatly contributing the country's defense also.
Army Sergeant Ed Mora, AFKN News, in the field with the A-Frame Army.
Last night at this time, we showed you how members of the Air Force's security police went through some challenging ground defense training. Tonight, Air Force Sergeant Steve Delaney has a report on how the SPs are using this year's team spirit to conduct even more training.
If you're lucky, you'll see them walking down the road. That is, if there isn't too much foliage. And while they're dressed for the field and carrying M16s, they are not soldiers. These are security policemen performing one of their primary responsibilities, securing an airbase. It's necessary so the planes can fly. Training is the key. And for units deployed to Team Spirit, cold weather training is an added plus.
The training that we're getting now to the extreme cold weather is helping us tremendously due to the fact we're used to the hot climate. We've never been through a cold climate training before, and this is helping us 100%.
Staff Sergeant Lyson, the squad leader for this group, feels there is nothing like the training provided in this annual field exercise.
It's fantastic. Like to do it all the time.
And now don't get these security policemen wrong. Cold weather training is nice sometimes, but...
Go back to the Philippines, to the beautiful hot climate. Short city.
Yeah, you be short when you get there?
No, I'm talking about shorts, what you wear.
A lot of people misconstrue the role of a security policeman. One day we play police officer, and the next day we play grunt. So we're the guys out there in the foxholes. We're not always riding around in air-conditioned cars.
Perhaps it's a little more exciting than giving out traffic tickets, but it's also a lot more demanding. From surrounding the perimeter of an airbase or taking off on a recon search, airbase ground defense is something these SPs practice rigorously. Reporting for AFKN, I'm Air Force Sergeant Steve Delaney.
Daniela, the process these troops are beginning to go through now and getting home is a complicated one. And tomorrow night at 6, AFKN's Rob Osman will show us how soldiers are getting their vehicles ready for that trip back.
So even though the exercise has ended, we will continue our coverage until, what, Wednesday?
You bet.
All
Up
right.
until Wednesday.
Then we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Involving all the exercise participants. The Republic of Korea's 36th Division played host to a formal ceremony this weekend. AFKN's Hannah Phillips says the ceremony places the command of the 2nd Infantry Division under the operational control of the Republic's 3rd Army Corps. And tonight she files this report.
U.S. and ROK troops exchanged commanders in a formal ceremony yesterday at the headquarters of the ROK 36th Division. Commanding General of the 2nd Infantry Division, Major General Jack B. Ferris, Jr., turned over operational control of his troops to the ROK 3rd Army Corps, Lieutenant General Min Hyung Ba. To symbolize the occasion, General Min handed over a baton to General Ferris. The troops will work together during annual training exercises. During the operation, ROK Marine 3rd Regimental Division will be attached to the 2nd ID. After the command of the Indian Head Division was turned over to General Min, the ROK commander made a speech stressing maximum troop preparation, a common spirit of camaraderie, and goals for world peace.
The formal ceremony may have been one thing, but even more importantly, the abilities and resolve to work together continues to be strengthened. Specialist Hannah Phillips, AFKN News, near Wonju.
A similar ceremony was held in Wonju, with the exception that the U.S. I Corps was given operational control over a variety of units. We get details from AFKN's Michael Oaks.
U.S. and Korean forces, both active and reserve, were represented in Osan yesterday when the commanding general of I Corps, Lieutenant General Norman Schwarzkopf, formally took command in this year's annual training exercise. In his speech, the general promised a diligent and enthusiastic focus on cooperation.
During Team Spirit 87, we will exercise with professionalism, with skill, with diligence, and we'll also have fun. Our goals are to train I Corps to demonstrate our ability to operate side by side with our Korean allies, all the while safeguarding the lives of our soldiers and the lives and property of the Korean people.
Now the hard work begins and will continue for the next several weeks as the units move to their training areas and prove their spirit as a team. I'm Specialist Michael Oaks, AFKN News, Wonju.
In the ongoing battle of man versus the elements, rivers are a necessary obstacle to overcome occasionally. Tonight, AFKN's Jerry Welch files this report on the Wolfhounds of the 1st Battalion 27th Infantry and their time-tested method to get to the other side.
An Army can't afford to be slowed down by obstacles such as rough terrain or rivers. It's the job of the 1st Battalion 27th Infantry Wolfhounds 25th Infantry Division Light to ensure quick passage. Battalion Commander Lieutenant Colonel David Crittenden explains the Wolfhounds' mission.
This morning we're on the river with our 65th Engineer Battalion practicing a river crossing operation. An operation that we don't normally get to conduct on the island of Oahu due to the constraints of not having a river. Additionally, gives us an opportunity to recreate with our soldiers a crossing that was accomplished by the 27th Infantry during the Korean conflict approximately 35 years ago in the vicinity of this particular crossing site.
Of course, without cover, a river crossing is very vulnerable. That's where the 71st Chemical Company comes in, obscuring the soldiers from unfriendly eyes. As in most tactical operations, it takes the combined efforts of both ROK and U.S. personnel. A combat engineer battalion, elements of an infantry division, and a chemical company, all working toward the same goal, crossing the Nam Han River. Army Private Jerry Welch, AFKN News, near Yeoju.
Making the good use of time and having good timing are both essential elements of training. Tonight, AFKN's Joe Connelly files this report on the 305th Supply and Services Company saving valuable time and using expertly orchestrated operations to get their job done faster and safer.
When a mission calls for speed, the crews don't have time to waste. Normally when a helicopter needs fuel, the pilot shuts off the engine and allows it to cool down. This takes valuable time away from the mission. There are several units throughout Korea that cut the time in.
Even though the ground exercise ended yesterday, our coverage from Wonju will continue through next Wednesday. And now for today's report from the AFKN Operations Center at Camp Long in Wonju, we hand things over to Sergeant Mark Cummings.
Thanks, Daniela. Good evening, everyone. With the completion of exercise Team Spirit, units are beginning to pack up their equipment and prepare for redeployment. But being out in the field on various ground maneuvers has put a lot of mud and dirt on the vehicles. Now it's time for it all to come off. We have two reports tonight on the washing and inspections of vehicles. We begin first with AFKN's Michael Oaks.
When vehicles belonging to outside country units arrived in the Republic about a month ago for Team Spirit, they were spotless. And now that the exercise is over, they must return to their home stations in the same condition. To ensure that they're spotless and bugless, wash points were set up at Camp Long, giving the tired soldiers the opportunity to scrub down and hose off their vehicles. Their mission is to get all the dirt off, inside and out. Washing a vehicle is a long and meticulous task, frequently taking as long as 5 hours. For some soldiers, scraping mud from under a Humvee or other military vehicles is not one of the most pleasant tasks they undertake during an exercise. That's where one local business comes in.
For those who prefer to keep their hands clean, there are alternatives, like this local car wash, where for a nominal fee, you can have them do the dirty work for you.
And dirty it is, with their high-pressure hoses breaking up dirt that is over 2 inches thick on some areas. Getting wet and dirty is part of the job. All of this cleaning is necessary so the vehicles can pass an agricultural inspection. And that's where AFKN's Tom Adams picks up the story.
When the in-country units wash their vehicles, they give them the good once-over. But when the guest units bring their own vehicles, a little more thorough job must be done before they're ready to return to the home motor pool. The trucks, jeeps, track vehicles, and others must be free of any contaminants that may contain bacteria or insects that could spread disease back to the United States. The job of assuring the vehicles are immaculate falls to the medics of the 129th EVAC Hospital from San Diego and the entomology section of USFK's Field Preventative Medicine Unit. Every vehicle that passes through the inspection station must go through a complete going-over to include a close inspection of the undercarriage and suspension system where dirt and mud have so many areas to hide away. Specialist Nancy Graham, an agricultural inspector from the 129th EVAC, explains some of the more common items that would send a vehicle back for a second wash.
Well, the main thing right now is we're agriculture inspectors. So the main thing we have to worry about is we got to worry about the dirt, the grass, the leaves, seeds, foreign matter like that that could possibly spread diseases and cause other problems in agriculture.
Not only are the vehicles scrutinized for cleanliness, they are inspected for any customs violations, such as any flammables or food, or controlled or copyrighted items that may have been tucked away behind a seat or under the hood. Once the vehicles make it through the inspection checkpoint, they wait in a sterile area before being loaded on the rail for transport to Busan, where they receive a final rinse-off prior to loading on the ship for the ride back home. Specialist Tom Adams, AFKN News, Camp Long.
Have 11 minutes coming out.
In other news this evening, providing fuels to keep U.S. Air Force C-130s flying during Team Spirit was the job of the fuel specialists of Harvest Eagle. Marine Staff Sergeant Bruce Hansberry has this report on their mission during the exercise.
Establishing bulk fuel distribution facilities on unimproved flight lines, such as the one now in use in support of Team Spirit 87 C-130s, is the daily stock in trade of the Yokota-based Harvest Eagle team. Under the direction of Air Force Master Sergeant Don Williams, 475th LGSF, the Bear Base operation is up and running 24 hours a day.
We pump approximately 600 gallons a minute to the aircraft, and they roll in on a two-pit system. And as you can see, right now we're in a circulation manual mode, ready to refuel the aircraft.
The specialized equipment is utilized throughout the year for training and other requirements in support of Pacific Air Force aircraft. But it's during the annual Team Spirit exercise that the system is really put to the test. But as Master Sergeant Williams adds, that's what it's all about.
Well, the load, it's picking up right now during the exercise. We have approximately 18 personnel assigned, and with a 24-hour round-the-clock operation. So it's quite a burden on us, but the mission's got to be accomplished.
I'm Marine Staff Sergeant Bruce Hansberry.
Elsewhere this evening, safety and security have both been primary contributors to the success of Team Spirit. Those themes continue to hold strong as thoughts begin to turn towards getting home. Tonight, AFKN's Joe Prince files this story.
Much of the gear and many of the vehicles used during the exercise are returning to main ports by rail. And while the mode of transportation may be a little different, it still must be kept secure as it heads towards its final destination.
We have two MPs on every train for security. Every stop we get off, check, make sure nobody's tampering with the vehicles. And then when we get down to Busan, they're turned over to the port handlers, and we're done with our mission. Come back up country, ride another train back down.
According to Sergeant Benson, the trip is a long one because the slower-moving military trains must yield to faster passenger trains. Yet through it all, the aspect of safety is not ignored.
Okay, we got to stay in the caboose because if you're running along the cars, the train shakes a lot going down the hill, and you might fall off the train. Also, they've been having a lot of problems with low-hanging wires.
While the exercise is over and thoughts turn towards going home, the work continues with packing up and moving out. Air Force Sergeant Joe Prince, AFKN News, Wonju.
Daniela, that'll do it for a Friday. Looking ahead to Monday, AFKN's Rob Osman will be joining Bruce as we look back at Team Spirit 87. Daniela?
Thank you, Mark.